session is the effects of the creation of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Sorry, dalawang M yan, no? It's not bar. 2 M's dapat, no? Something like that, no? In terms of the political landscape, no? In the BARM, no? But which is more of a to my mind, because I haven't really went back into the research on politics. To my mind, is more of a reflection of what I observed that is happening in the BARM. Okay, so first and foremost, the introduction. No? So my previous work on global justice and the Bangsamoro was actually written and studied prior, no? Pre-BARM, no? Prior to the creation of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. So in that work, I tried to explain the incident of poverty in Muslim Mindanao, in what was ARM before, from the perspective of global unjust structures. No? That something like it is caused by the global unjust structures. Okay, and this is I think Sir Ryan and Sir Ian Parcon, who were my teachers before, know that I have some passion about this secessionist aspirations of the Bangsamoro people, no? But I think, I don't know why, but I think it waned. It waned, no? Medyo nawala yung ano ko. And I think I'll give a quick explanation of bakit medyo nawala yung passion ko. But first, why was there a passion on my part, no? For the secessionist aspirations of the Bangsamoro people? First, because I'm a Bangsamoro myself, no? And then another is because there is really a historical basis and even in fact legal basis, no, for a separate Muslim Mindanao. No? If you try to look at it, if you visit Indonesia and Malaysia, there's a similarity and something like that. No? And in fact, just to mention what Professor Mansueto mentioned a while ago, the secessionist aspirations did not started in the 1990s or something like that. No? In 1934, there's already a Dansalan Declaration where Muslims in Mindanao already expressed that they want to be separated from the Philippines during the talks for the independence of the Philippines from the Americans. No? And then in the 1970s, there was a manifesto issued by the Muslim independence movement, no? Asking for separation from the Philippines. It was an earlier, and in fact, this is where the Bangsamoro secessionist aspirations are coming from. But when the Moro Islamic Liberation Front agreed with the Philippine government, it had drastic changes. No? Well, on my part, medyo personal, parang nawala yung aking passion because I think maybe it becomes pointless. Because the change really is that what happened when the MILF entered into the agreement with the Philippine government, it practically eliminated the secessionist aspirations of the Bangsamoro people also. Parang sumama doon, no, na nawala na rin yung because as a young Moro, I saw a lot of people really passionate about Moro people, really passionate about the secession of Muslim Mindanao. But it really waned. Okay, but a few caution. I'm not saying that what the MILF here with the agreement, the creation of the BARM is bad, no? But there's no judgment to that, no? I don't want to judge that it is wrong or it's bad, no? Maybe only history, no? Only history can judge whether such political action were correct, no? Or bad or whatever, something like that. Okay, so let me now proceed with the some of the effects, no, in terms of extremism in Muslim Mindanao. So when the MILF agreed, had the peace agreement with the Philippine government, when they signed the framework on the Bangsamoro, and then also ultimately the creation of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and of course their appointment into the government, no, is practically when they joined the Philippine government, there were some effects, no, in terms of the groups that are aspiring for secession. No? I think we all know the Maute Group, and the Bangsamoro Islamic freedom fighters, no? So medyo, I don't know if you're listening to the or watching the news on during that time. And of course, I think you're very familiar with the Mauti group in relation to the Marawi siege, no? So ang nangyari is when the MILF sort of abandoned their secessionist aspiration, these extremist groups thought that now they are now the representative of the secessionist aspirations of the Bangsamoro. And therefore, the decisions of political actions are now for them to decide. Kasi dati, and this is what I observed, no? Dati kasi when the MILF is still there, it was the biggest secessionist Muslim secessionist group in Mindanao. The other groups like the Maute or etong Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, really an offshoot, no? Really an offshoot of the MILF, no? So when it was abandoned, they separated. They separated from the MILF. Ang nangyari is when they abandoned, they thought that the MILF left that aspirations and it's for them to decide, no, to what to do. And this is what we saw when the Maute group entered and occupied Marawi, no, leading to the very devastating Marawi siege. No? We all know how the Marawi siege devastated Marawi City and the lives of the residents of Marawi. So ito parang anak ito had there been, no, had it was managed, yung the agreement was managed taking as a caution the possibility that this would happen, baka na mitigate yun. So why? Because what happened is when they were still the MILF, these other groups parang they are more cautionary. They sort of try to ask the opinion or try perhaps sort of would want, so that they are be legitimate, would want a certain sanction from the MILF. So medyo mamamoderate sana if the MILF was still pursuing secessionist aspirations. But then when they stop it, then this group thought that they're nowhere, no? Wala na. There's no need, no, to ask any opinion or sanction from this bigger Muslim secessionist group, no? So parang ganun na yan. So and then we have that. But since there are certain changes happening in the Muslim world, no? Medyo for instance, the Mauti group was associated, if I'm correct, was associated with the ISIS, no, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, no. So training and perhaps even funding were coming from them. But this group also medyo it waned, no? It waned, and I think may mga changes din sa kanilang politics. I don't know if the current government in Syria is I don't know if it's ISIS or in Al Qaeda. No, the affiliation was in that group. No? But when they joined, when they become the government of Syria, it had some changes also. So since there are some changes happening also in the Muslim world, it also affects. So other than the Marawi siege, which really weakened, the Mauti group, no? And then also, just a caution, I'm not saying that what the Mauti group did in the Marawi was was good or something like that. No, that there's no such thing. I'm just trying to analyze what would have happened. So something like that. So medyo but right now, I think medyo hindi na at the forefront ng balita sa BARM yung nangyayaring ganito. No, there's no. In fact, when was the last time that we have something like the Marawi siege in the BARM? No, so medyo wala. Even the Abu Sayyaf group are, although merong recent, no, when there are some attacks on the military, but medyo hindi na ganoon ka, no, medyo I think it subsided. No, we don't know if it would recur again. No, there's no assurance. So that's one effect. That the aspirations of, so nawala na yung ganun na politics, no? So before there was a politics of secession, no, Muslim secession in Muslim Mindanao, and it now waned, nawala na, and then one of the earliest manifestation of effects, no, of that withdrawal or decline of the politics of secession in Muslim Mindanao is yung I think it could have explained the Marawi siege. No? Baka pwedeng i-relate doon. And then, the last one is that changes in the political landscape I observed in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. But particularly, to be more particular, because the Bangsamoro is very diverse. No, we have different ethnic affiliations, and I'm a Maguindanaon. I'm not a Maranao. I'm not a Tausug. So I don't reside in the areas of the Maranao and the areas of the Tausug. So I don't really quite know the local politics there. No? But I would assume there's a bit similarity because anyway, this local politics in Mindanao or in BARM have some similarities also in other regions in the Philippines. No? So baka may ano lang din, may konting, pero siguro may certain distinct elements in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, in particular Maguindanao, that may have not been present in other local politics, no? Pre-BARM politics, no? During the pre-BARM politics, the More Islamic Liberation Front was officially, may mga issuance yan sila dyan, no? Officially was neutral. There was an official statement from the Central Committee that the MILF as an organization will never participate, no? Will never participate in Philippine election. So there was a perceived, no? There was a perceived non-participation in Philippine politics by the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. But actually, they played a secondary role, especially with the local politicians. Kasi, of course, these are relatives, no? Magkakamag-anak naman yan, no? Yung mga local politicians, like me, we belong to a local political family. May mga kamag-anak naman yan dyan sa mga rebels, no? So, and then Philippine politics, it does involve, no? It does involve a lot of armed groups, no? In terms of intimidation, in terms of controlling the result of the election, especially in the far-flung, yung sa loob-loob na lugar ng during the voting, no? So, in a way, meron silang participation, no? Local politicians, perhaps, what was mentioned by Sir Ryan a while ago, may mga patron-client relationship din, no? So, I bribe you some, I give you some gifts or something like that in return for the services, no? For the services and the loyalty. May ganun na, no? And then so here we are, the traditional political families in BARM. We're supported, no? We're supported by members, no? So I think ang lusot doon, the lusot was, okay, if I am an MILF commander, something like that, and have a relative, maybe far a distant relative that is running in politics, I would perhaps support this candidate not as a member of the organization, but as a family relative. So in a way, the neutrality was only as an organization. No? So may ganun na, there's some dynamics that was happening. So something like that. So I know for a fact that some politicians won elections because of the support. No? Because not only of the armed support by certain rebel groups, but also the influence. No? The influence to the voters of these groups. Kasi magkakamag-anak nga eh. So something like that. No? So there was. Now, during the BARM period, during BARM politics, the players of the elections are now different. No? Because ang offer ng Philippine government, the Philippine government offer to the rebels is that you have to participate in Philippine politics. So they created their party, no? So ito yung party ngayon, regional party in the regional party of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, no? In BARM is the United Bangsamoro Justice Party. And now they are against each other. So what happens now? What happened now is their change of alliances. Their change of alliances in BARM, no? So some members of the more Islamic Liberation Front allied themselves with the traditional families, something like that. And then some of the members also, nag-iba yung ano. I'll give you an example. A very good example, even within, no? Even within the more Islamic Liberation Front, changes in alliances is the appointment of the new chief minister of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. It was internally there was disagreements about this. So there was a declaration that Malacanang did not even consult the leadership of the MILF who would be appointed as the new chief minister. So they just suddenly replaced, no? They just suddenly replaced the previous one, no? Yeah, suddenly replaced the previous with also a high level, no? High level official of the more Islamic Liberation Front. No? So magkakasama sila dati. Ngayon, there were some changes, alliances. And perhaps the violence that are happening right now especially in Maguindanao, they're now under, I think several municipalities in Maguindanao are now under Comelec control because of the resurgence of the violence. And the resurgence of the violence is aligned with these changes in alliances in politics in Maguindanao. So nagkakasamaan ng loob, no? So because of there are resentments, because of the change of alliances, there are resentments, no? And it sometimes it becomes personal, no? So may mga interest. So because perhaps in both groups, they think that they will not win in the election. They resulted to this, and it's something like that. And this is what I think is happening in BARM, which is quite different from previously. Kasi dati, you'll see the political landscape is that you see political families contending with each other, and more Islamic Liberation Front, especially in Maguindanao, only play a secondary role. Now they now have a primary role. No, they are now the primary players in the elections, and this is crucial to them because they have to win. No? They have to do everything to win because they now have to claim legitimacy over the Bangsamoro people. Kasi kung if they lose this election, it would mean that the Bangsamoro people would want to still maintain or think that it's still legitimate to be led by the traditional political families. No? So this is now the contest in BARM. It's between the new group emerging, coming not really the new group, but the formal rebels going into politics, and then against the traditional families. No? So this is what I observed in the Bangsamoro. And is this about democracy? And I told you a while ago, I've really lost my passion in the research for politics and democracy. But I think it could still be tied with democracy if we think of democracy as essentially about freedom, whether it's individual freedom or a group of people's freedom. So something like that. No? Although I'm more inclined to the liberal values of individual freedom, but I think if we look at democracy in terms of freedom, and then I think we could still consider this to be more about the democracy in the Philippines. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Daghang salamat.
Thank you very much, Attorney Jamil, for sharing your perspectives. Okay, I would also like to thank our presenters for sharing your insights. We truly appreciate your time and expertise that each of you shared with us today. So at this point, I would like to open the floor for questions and reflections from the audience. Please feel free to raise your hand or type your questions in the chat box.
What I can share to you is that in the Philippines, since we already have two women presidents, such as President Gloria Arroyo and President Aquino, and presently our vice president, who is a woman, I believe that in a way there's already this transformation from the belief that women cannot rule, that women cannot make a change to the transform the belief that we already can decide for ourselves, especially on what we are going to do to better our future.
I hope that answers your question, sir. Thank you, Ma'am Godiva, for that. Any more questions?
Uh, Lane, I just would like to tell you why I love money because it empowers me.
You
Lips- Lipsticks
listen.
nowadays are very expensive.
Any of you students or colleagues, if you get a chance to listen to Dr. Godiva moderate sometime, it is a joy. Go listen to her moderate sometime.
So very moderating. Because according to Aristotle, when we are experience moderation, it means that we are in a state of happiness as well as peace.
Wow, thank you very much, Ma'am Godiva. I agree. Questions from the students? Okay, sir. So I will read the question from Rez Guide. So the question is, what is the best way forward for Mindanao, a federal parliamentary system or a separate state? Also, how do we start the process when we pursue either trajectory? I'm not sure if Kisay mo answers the question. Okay. So anyone who would like to answer this question?
Maybe I'll just a little bit because I think I also talked about the session or something a while ago. No? I think I agree with Professor Mansueto, no, that it's a bit speculative. No? In fact, it's very difficult to answer. No? Medyo, to me, you have to leave it to history to really find out. No? So whatever we say, it's just speculation, and then it's really history would judge whether it is. But just quickly on the separation. To me, I think the in Muslim Mindanao, it might be too late already. It's already too late, no? It's already too late to me. Yeah, if you ask me. Kasi for a long time, the Muslims in Mindanao were asking for a referendum. Even the chairman of the More Islamic Liberation Front wrote a book for a referendum that the Muslim Mindanaoans should be given a referendum whether they wanted to stay, but the Philippine government does not really want it, no? And hence, the Muslims had to resort to armed struggle. It cannot result into a political struggle because simply the Philippine government do not want it. No, despite we have the model in Singapore, no, where Malaysia allowed the Singapore to have a referendum for a separate state. We have the more recent one is in Timor Leste. No, when Indonesian government gave the freedom for the Timorese to vote whether they would want to be separate or not. But for Muslim Mindanao, there was no such. There was an exclusion. No, there was an exclusion. There was no freedom given to, despite the clamor and the historical basis and possibly legal basis for a separate state. But it was no, it's too late. No, it may be too late now. So I think the More Islamic Revelation Front opted for autonomy. But if you ask me, even the BARM autonomy is a bit, there are a lot of pitfalls on it. No? For instance, if I review the organic law creating the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, it's really more of a cultural. No? Wala masyadong political, because still the politics is still with the center. No? Hindi naman ganun. It's more of a cultural, to me, that's my reading of the organic law for the creation of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. It's more of a cultural, so the chief minister, if I review his powers, it's more of a cultural and cultural control over the culture of the Bangsamoro, and not so much the politics in the Bangsamoro. So something like that. So it might be too late. And it's also, again, I have to agree with Professor. Major speculative is quite difficult to answer. No? So something like that. Just that some thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, Sir Hartzell, would you like to say something, sir?
Yes, I saw someone in the chat said that democracy is about the majority over the minority. And I want to say that this is a very dangerous statement. Nothing against you. That kind of statement is exactly what oligarchs want to argue, so that the democratic or from the rule from the demos doesn't affect their freedom, which is an extreme freedom. 12 or 15 people in the United States own as much wealth as probably maybe 60 or 70% of the other Americans. Throughout the world, it's worse. The foundational matter of democracy is the protection of the physical, psychological, and spiritual integrity of the human being. And even today, it's about nature, ecology, but speaking right now, and I'll give you an example. In the Philippines, in the United States, in Norway, do we do medical experimentation on old people? Well, everybody in here, I hope, would be shocked by such a statement. But if we could, I'm not advocating for this, okay? But if we could do medical experimentation on old people, we could solve a lot of problems in medicine. But we cannot. Well, why not? Why can't we? I mean, certainly the majority would vote to do medical experimentation on old people, right? I mean, there's less old people, and the benefit, the cost benefit analysis would be tremendous. That would be $1 trillion industry, and we would probably solve cancer, heart disease, and all of that within, say, 5 years or a decade. We know what experiments need to be done, but we can't do them because the foundational matter of the human being is protected. Now, you don't have to have democracy only to protect this. In Saudi Arabia, I don't think that they do experiments either, but maybe. I mean, in a totalitarian state, it's shifty. But what I'm saying is that with a democracy, we have the best chance of a more distributed power, and therefore the best chance for life and liberty and so forth. So let me try to make that as clear as I possibly can, and I can let the legal scholars jump in from this point because I'm a philosopher speaking. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. So another question in the chat box is from Leo Luzanes.
Just quickly, Miss Sweet, just about the
Yes.
secession and the aspiration for a separate state for the Muslims in Mindanao. With that Moro Islamic Liberation Front agreeing with the Philippine government for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, they sealed the fate of the Muslim Filipinos for a separate state, no? And that is something that I'm not in favor. No? So I just wanted to state that, no, they practically sealed, they closed forever because they cannot go back to it again. They cannot go back to it. It would be very, very difficult to go back to it again. Only that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Jamil. All right. For the next question from Leo Lozanes, what motive should we have when we head to the polling stations on Monday, if any? Okay. So I understand that voting is ultimately a personal decision, but I also know that our motives as voters directly shape how we are able to influence the country. So, for example, the idea of protest voting. The country has a history of using the ballot box as a way of rebuking the status quo that was part of the basis of Duterte's ascent. However, protest voting also has a tendency to create adverse outcomes. Does protest voting work, and what is an ethical motive?
Okay, allow me to answer the question. I do not know if, because I haven't encountered yet in my readings regarding protest voting, but perhaps the understanding of protest is something that is subjective, perhaps. But in my opinion, I would like to say that, like what happened during the time of uh, the campaign period when Duterte ran for president, and perhaps this coming Monday, perhaps the votes of the majority is more on expression of losing confidence, no, on the sitting officials because they are not embodying the aspiration of the people, no. The aspiration of the people has something to do with the common good, no. So I think people vote because they want to unseat the sitting officials, no? Okay. And then when it comes to ethical motive, my answer is that people go to the poll because they want to right the wrong. Okay, so that is my answer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Morte. Any more answers from our presenters? Okay, no more questions.